Hi, Robert. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
So, during our previous conversation, you shared a fascinating story about what inspired the idea and name behind Khonsu. Could you share that story and how it connects to your mission and bridging travelers and locals?
Yeah, absolutely. So the name Khonsu is taken from an Egyptian god whose name translates to the word traveler. And he was thought to protect and guide people along their journey along the Nile. And that's basically the same thing that we're on a mission to do: guide and protect travelers while they're discovering the things they love with the people they love.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Awesome.
that. And I love the whole idea behind the company because I've experienced that same situation. You know, you travel, you go to new cities, and just sometimes by almost dumb luck, you might come across somebody that is a local, just randomly meet them and get in conversation. And when they start, sharing places that you should go that are totally off the beaten track of the tourist kind of route, it's so much better. The experience is so much better. And
Yes.
also and on the opposite side of that, when you get swept up into just the tourist track, and you just get like overcharged for things and you're on this thing that's not really, you're not experiencing the real culture of a city. Yeah, I totally resonate that with from my travel experience. So I just love the idea.
Yeah. We before I was doing this, I traveled a lot for most of my career in corporate America, and I found myself on a plane usually 2 weeks out of a month. And it was always very frustrating to me because one, I'd be going to these great places and I'd come back home and people would say, "Oh, you must have had so much fun." But in reality, I didn't, because it takes so much time to discover these local experiences that I would just wind up doing the default, right? Running the meetings, going to dinner, and heading back to the hotel. And at one point, I realized that I could use the same technology. Actually, I should have mentioned that in the beginning. I was actually leading. I was the head of global digital care at Citibank for a while, and I was leading innovation at a tech company called LivePerson, where we would scale conversations with technology. And so at one point during the travels and during these meetings, I realized that I could use these same concepts that I was building for these Fortune 500 brands to create a solution to solve this problem. Just like you said, James, all of like the best source of information lives in locals' heads. And when we travel, we tend to kind of settle for the next best thing, right? We settle for some online guides, we settle for some tips, or like we settle for whatever we can find. But in reality, if our friends and family come to visit us, we don't send them guides. We don't send them, and we don't tell them to go ask ChatGPT. We give them information because we know who they are, we know where we are, and we have all this rich context. So the only thing that's preventing us from getting that same rich context is just that we don't know who to ask. And so
Mm,
that's kind of the problem. And the way I started to solve this is figuring out, like, if there's a set of people who want the information, there's a set of people that have the information, how can we connect the two? And then how do we
mm,
do it at scale?
mm. Yeah, yeah. It makes so much sense, and that's such a gap that you fill in. So it's really cool. Yeah. So you've mentioned just then, you've got a 30-year background in tech, working for some pretty major companies like LivePerson and Citibank. What was that moment that made you decide to step away from all that and then create this travel tech startup?
It was a dinner in London, actually. It was a dinner in London that it all kind of clicked for me. We were at a beautiful French restaurant. It was a very nice dinner, actually. So if anyone's watching this who was at that dinner with me, I don't want them to think that I was offended. But it was, I'll never forget it. We are at a beautiful French restaurant with Vodafone executives. We were telling jokes. We were shutting down the place. It was a great time, but in the back of my head, I really like London. My family's originally from Jamaica. Obviously, there's a lot of Jamaicans in London, and so I just wanted to take some time of, that I had in the day of my own time to go hear some music, to go experience some local culture that's meaningful to me. And that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, instead of being here at 9 o'clock at night, I could be somewhere else if I knew who to ask, if these things could happen. And so I started to literally just like everyone else, just write notes on the back of a napkin. I went back to the hotel bar, obviously, and started to just scribble down notes. How could I solve this problem? And put it out into the world. I will say that this idea has gone through a few pivots. It did not start off as what Khonsu is right now. At the time, I thought that AI could solve this. I was like, how come no one's put AI in here to solve this? It seems like such an easy solution. And so that was like the first iteration. I built just a very simple kind of quote unquote bot and put it out into the world. And a lot of people used it. But what we found was, interestingly, anytime we would always ask people after their interactions, like what they thought of it and how things went. And interestingly, when when the AI got the answers correct, people would give it a grade of a C. It was okay, it was fine. And when it didn't work, we would pause it and we'd have a person step in with the same name as the bot and kind of like change this interaction, but just so that we can understand the problem. And in those scenarios, people would give it a grade of an A. So when it worked, it
Mm,
was a C. When it failed, it was a grade of an A. And that's when we started to realize that it really wasn't about the information, it was about the context and how we're getting to that information that really makes the difference for these customers. And so we pivoted a few times, but we pivoted in that direction to figure out, well, how can we start connecting these people so that we can generate experiences that people really love? And
mm,
that's kind of where we are now. Now we've built our model end to end, and we're starting to scale it.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's, so often is the case that I love that you went back to a bar and just started scribbling these ideas on napkins, and I've heard some like super successful business owners, companies that's how it started. And if you can explain a simple idea on the back of a napkin, and it's powerful and it resonates. It's a great simplified concept and exercise to do. Um, and then yeah, over customer feedback, you're putting a product out there, you're getting that customer feedback, and you're iterating based on that, gaining the insights. And so often, I'm hearing that AI, is incredible as it is as a technology, and it's for ideation and speeding up things that I do in my work. It's amazing, but there is still that need for the human element, the human in the loop, or the context, as you say, for when it comes to locals that have that knowledge and experience in the culture. Like, how do you replace that with AI and technology? You can't really.
Yeah, and I think that kind of hits on a few broader points as well that you're making there, James. I think it's regardless of the problem that founders are solving in the industry, it's really important to stay connected to your customers, right? So a great example are founders that are building the B2B brands, right? There, it's a little harder because we're building something that is for a brand that can then get delivered to a customer. But it's still really important to listen to what that end customer needs, because that's what everyone wants. Um, the and that's it's just to tell you a little, give you a little like trail breadcrumb along the way. When I first started this, my background is in B2B, and so when I first started this, my I guess the second iteration of Khonsu was a B2B solution, one that we could sell to hotels. And I ran into that problem where it was really hard for me to listen to the customers through the hotels, because the hotels were telling me something and the customers were telling me something, and it was just very difficult to figure out who to build for. And so I pivoted away from the hotels, at least in the beginning, so that I could just get closer to the customers. Because I knew that if I could build something that people like, that people love, then like everything else would get a little easier.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. It makes so much sense. And you've described running a startup while managing customers as flying a plane and building it at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
what's been the most exhilarating moment in that, you know, that managing that process?
My gosh. The fact that you just keep going, somehow the plane stays in the air. It is not something for the weak of heart. I will I will say that. Um, I think our approach, so the approach that I took is to just try to fail as fast as possible. So, like I was said, um, once I had the idea and had an MVP, then we put it out and started to pivot again, trying to get close to those customers. And when we started to reach the customers, it was great. It's like we reached paying customers. That was amazing. But then the challenge was like, oh my gosh, now we actually are committed to delivering the solution that someone actually paid for. Like someone's asking us to solve this problem, and then they kept coming. And again, not in like huge waves, but people kept showing up. And so it was tricky because we can't let the customers down. This is our reputation that we're building. So the biggest thing that I've had to learn to do and still learn is you can't do it all. Like I can't do it all, and that is easier said than done. As founders, we have to be the CEO, we have to be the director, we have to be the janitor, and but at a certain point, you just have to realize when you need to take a hat off and give that hat to someone else. And that's really the only way that you can focus on what's most important to grow the business. It's a constant challenge. It's what I'm going through this week, actually trying to take a hat off and give it to someone else. But it is part of the process.
Mm. And why why is that why is it such a challenge? Is it because as a founder, you know, it's your baby and it's almost you're letting go of control and to some extent of things that you had control over and you've got to place trust in other people. Like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is. It's not so much, at least not in my side. It's not so much of letting go of control. I think the biggest thing is that look, we don't know what we don't know in general, right? We're every founder is building something that's new. We have an idea, um, but we haven't reached it, right? And so the example I always think of is we're kind of like ships. We're kind of like, I'm sorry, not ships. We're captains of a ship in a storm, right? We can see that there's a break ahead and we're steering in this direction, but we can't really see what's between here and there. We just know to go in this direction.
Mm,
And so when we start to bring people on to help us steer the ship, if we're not familiar with the role that that person has to do, it's tough to tell if they're doing it right or not. And so that's one of the challenges. Sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves. Again, we can see that like, oh, we need all these roles. Let's bring them in. Uh, but like, is that person doing the job really well? Are they doing it the way that we need? Does it align with all these parts? I don't know. It's all new. Like
mm,
that is the part that takes a little time. And different founders have different methods of figuring that part out. What the process I use is I always take new people through a test. We usually work together for 1 to 2 months. Um, like before any paperwork, I'm just like, look, we got to make sure that we work together well first. And I also like to do the job myself for a little bit, just so that I can see what it means and how I would solve it. Not saying that I'm the
mm,
best person to solve it, but at least it gives me a framework that when that other person steps into the role, I'm familiar with what it is that they're doing.
mm. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's very interesting that you do that, and I work that way too. You've got to yeah, not saying that you are the best, but you kind of got to know what good looks like, and have the context, have the understanding before you can then start to bring someone else in for those processes. So yeah, for sure. You you had an aha moment about the gig economy, discovering many people want flexible work but don't have cars, apartments to rent out, that sort of thing. How did that insight reshape your vision for Khonsu?
Yeah, that was a big that's been a great aha moment. So I guess to explain that in full, our model again, so at Khonsu, we connect visitors to locals to share insider tips at scale. And so there's two people that we have in our model, right? We have the visitors on one side and locals on the other side, and the locals get paid for basically on the gig economy, right? Similar to Uber, Airbnb, and the like. And we use New York as our test market mainly because that's where I live, so it's easy. And so um, at one point, I had to go out. So like once we figured out how to reach our visitors, we had to figure out how to reach the locals. And there was this question like, okay, do people want to do this? Are people willing to do this? And as I started to talk to locals, I realized how strong the demand is. It's actually the demand is probably stronger on the local side because especially in a place like New York where so few people have cars that where they can drive Uber and they don't have Airbnb is actually illegal in New York City, so that's easy. Most people don't have, they don't own their homes that they could even rent Airbnb if it was.
Mm,
So there's a ton of people that live in the city that know the city really well that are actually giving this information out for free to anyone that will ask, and they're doing it for
mm,
friends and family, and to tell them that, listen, we have a process and a platform where you can get paid to share this kind of information on your own time. They're like, yeah, and we're going to pay you for it. They're like, yeah, of course, sign me up.
mm.
I'm down. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so
no brainer offer. I love it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very interesting discovery. Yeah, so you mentioned the AI app that you kind of first started, and you've got a background in conversational AI, and customer experience, and you could have built like in this era right now with AI exploding, you could have built many different businesses. I'm sure you had a lot of ideas and stuff when you were in that kind of process. What ultimately convinced you that connecting travelers with locals was the problem to solve?
that's a great question, James. I ask myself that every morning when I get up. you know, I so the one it is again. I've traveled for the majority of my career. I mean, I think if I had a side gig, it would be like I would have to be like a stewardess or an airline. I'd be working at an airline or something with the amount of
Mm,
miles that I have racked up. So just out of that, like I just really understand this need and this challenge. um, it is a bigger problem than I realized. So I will say that. So that is, I guess, one. It's encouraging for me when I talk to people one on one and they respond positively to this idea. It's also really encouraging every time we get customers. Our customers come in and they don't completely get what we do, but by the end, they're always blown away. Like we just hear, "Wow, I love it."
mm,
They send referrals, they come back, like they send us pictures. We have people like offering to bring us gifts or like, "Can you come to my house and I want to take care of you?" So like people are just so overjoyed, and I think that really helps keep us going. Um, but the other thing, I guess, going back to your AI and like why is this thing? It's so one, I will say that we actually have AI around the solution. So even though I've said like we've pivoted away, it's it's not so much that we've pivoted away. We've kind of adopted it.
mm,
We're just using it differently, right? But there are, I mean, AI drives a lot of efficiency, and at the end of the day, I'm basically a tech person, right? I kind of I love technology, and I do believe that AI is very helpful. But I I think we have to always just listen to the problems that we're trying to solve, right? And not enforce our solutions on someone else.
Mm,
And I think that that balance is what we found at Khonsu, and it's what we found that works. And I think it's also the reason that I continue at this, and I'm really anxious. It's we're actually bringing up investors on, and people are really excited because of that balance that we've found. Um, AI is changing us, and I believe that outside of the AI revolution, the bigger revolution is the impact that it's having on humanity. Which it's changing the way that we expect information to get delivered to us. It's changing the way at which we solve problems. Um, and it's actually really exciting, right? It is making us more efficient. Again, change is always scary for people. Like I get that, um, but it also opens up new opportunities. And I believe that the framework that we built and what we're building is poised for this AI revolution that's coming.
mm, yeah. Yeah, very interesting. And the point you made there about, not enforcing and listening to feedback and iterating, not being attached to something, that's a very key, very important point because that for founders that, they're so far down a path and to almost be blindsided because, they're in love with their product that they're building or whatever the solution and trying to enforce it. It causes a lot of pain and heartache for a lot of business owners. So
Yeah.
it's a very important point. Yeah. So taking a startup from concept to over 1,000 paying customers, right? Is that kind of yeah?
Yeah, we're well beyond 1,000 now. Yeah, but that's right. We
Okay.
hit 1,000. That was like our big threshold
Yeah.
to come out of that phase. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I mean, it's no small feat. What was the scariest leap of faith that you had to take when growing to that level?
Yeah, there were a few pivots. I think getting the first customer was pretty scary. I'll say that. So we um again, I'm not going to give you the whole just to summarize it, right? It's like we had to pivot a few times. And then once we've hit this final kind of pivot, like then it took us a few months to get that first customer. That was scary. That was like a 2 to 3 months of that was pretty scary. And then we had to build both sides of the solution because again, like you said, it's built on the gig economy. And so there's a model that's for the visitors, there's a model that's for the locals, and we had to build both sides, MVP both sides. um, Given my background, actually the local side came a lot easier for me, but figuring out like the funnel and just getting the sales funnel correct for the visitors took a lot more work, a lot more iteration. So getting through that was pretty scary. Um, those are the definitely the two biggest. I'm sure that there's going to be more ahead of us. I mean, every day is a challenge. I'd say maybe right now we're at another inflection point. So we've just come out of our product market fit, what I call the product market fit phase, where like we have everything kind of built, and now we're getting ready to scale. And so this scale is a new set of challenges. We used New York City as our baseline. We're expanding to Washington, D.C., and so we have to copy and paste our model into a new market to validate that it works. So there's new challenges there. Um, but again, it's also a lot of fun, right? It's like I can't get off the ship because we haven't hit that break in the clouds yet. So I have to I
Mm,
gotta keep steering this boat forward.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I literally just posted a LinkedIn post about that. You've got to love the journey, right, and have fun, because if you just attach to the outcome, it's a very stressful path. And yeah, if you and then you attach your self worth to only the outcome. So yeah, and
That's
there's all
right.
the ups and downs that you've got to ride,
That's
being
right.
the captain of that ship. So
Yeah, and I think it's important for founders to kind of find their peace along the way, right? No
mm,
matter it is a hard journey. You have to enjoy it and find ways to enjoy it. Um, it's not always a happy journey. Uh, that's also important for founders to remember that it's every day is not good. There's gloomy days, but that's
mm,
part of the journey. So as you encounter those gloomy days, you have to just find a way that you can center yourself, find peace for yourself, remind yourself why you're doing this, look to that break in the clouds, take whatever time you need to kind of get your head back in the game.
mm,
Um, and just remember that we're never measured as just people. We're never measured by the falls along the journey. We're only measured by the way at which we get back up and recover.
mm,
So it's always okay to fall. Just get back up and
mm.
keep going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're the leader of the company, so it's, those gloomy days, those down days, you can't let that affect, your team and everybody that's around you. So it can end up being a lonely place, because who do you kind of communicate that sort of thing to? um or do you just deal with it internally and process? So yeah, it is interesting. It's a very interesting journey.
Yeah.
um
I would not
what some
recommend
things
dealing with it internally. It's good to have some people around.
Yeah, just push it all down there, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Just bottle it up until it explodes.
Yeah, so what kind of things do you have? Because you mentioned going through that process, reminding yourself. Do you have processes to do that, to like
Yeah.
sort of get you back out of state? Yeah.
I do. I do. I have a few things. So one, the gym is really important to me. I hit
Mm,
the gym 4 to 5 times a week.
mm,
So that's really good. I also have I also have some close friends. I have one person that's really close to me who I talk to and I can share this journey with, and they really get it, and they're like a great listener. So you always need someone around you where you can just be yourself no matter what that looks like, and not worry about the consequences, so that
mm.
keeps your head on tack.
Yeah.
And then I just do like little things. All of us have our fun things. I enjoy cooking. So I'll like come over to my house and I'm making spaghetti bolognese, or yeah, brown stew chicken,
Mm,
or whatever it is. Like, I love to cook, so I'm always making something nice. That's
mm.
yeah. And then wine. I also enjoy wine.
Yeah, there's probably a balance between enjoying that and then using it to get over
That's
those
right.
gloomy days, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, makes a lot of sense. Like it's the simple things like cooking. You just kind of grounding yourself in a natural process that if you get enjoyment through that, then yeah, it's you stepping away from work. Taking your mind, keeping your hands busy, for
Yeah.
sure. They're important things. The little things, the simple things. They are important.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you emphasize. So you're at an exciting time then now, when you say you've got product market fit and you're ready to scale. You built the two-sided marketplace, and yeah, that's tough. I was partnered with a software company where I had to prove out the B2B side of that two-sided marketplace, and it's a big challenge, getting that thing started. Um, but you emphasize the importance of finding good partners in the industry to help growth. How do you identify the right partners when everything else about your business is still evolving?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I find that it really boils down to the it kind of boils down to the right person. Like there is, you have to go through all the business tactics of like, is the which business is right and what's the right offer. And but look, at the end of the day, people do business with people they like. And you have to find someone that you can connect with, someone that understands your vision and where you're going, and then things will start to click, right? So the best offer to someone that you don't click with is not right, but you can have like a semi decent offer with someone that you click with really well, understands your vision. Then that's going to be great. That's the right partner, because you things can always change, right? We can always change this offer, we can change the terms, we all that stuff can change with the right person. So it really is about just networking, getting out there, meeting people, being able to tell your story, share your vision, and looking for someone that again understands where you're going and wants to see this succeed and grow with you.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, it's so important that the relationships when you've got to have that click, that connection. You don't want to be getting into business with, yeah, when you just feel that it's off.
Mhm.
Mm. And I mean, so you're from, you've got quite a corporate background, and then you jumped into, founding a startup. What corporate habits did you have to unlearn to succeed as an entrepreneur?
Yes. There's a lot of it's funny you say this. I was just thinking about it. There's a lot of corporate etiquette that is not needed in this startup world, for good or for bad. Um, you know, there's um, there's just sometimes we get into these habits. I think one of the first things I had to do away with was like unnecessary meetings, and for anyone that's gone through this journey, that's been in corporate America, like you can just get into the habit of having meetings and thinking that's work. Like that is not the work.
Mm.
Like get rid of those meetings immediately.
Mm.
Those should be the first thing to go. Meetings for the sake of meetings is just
Mm.
torture.
Yeah.
Get rid of those. I'll also say though that there are some things that I'm really glad that I have. There is, I guess, the networking skills that I picked up in corporate America, how to introduce myself in a new environment to new people, how to just have conversations at cocktails and at networking events. I do notice that there's some people that can struggle with this, and so those those are things that I picked up in the corporate world, and I certainly keep them with me.
Mm. Yeah, and it is, networking is such a in the sort of new age, like digital online marketing, and that's my background is a lot in that. Yeah, the networking side is very misunderstood, undervalued, and it is, like you say, in the corporate world, you build those skills and you build the contacts, the connections that just help in this journey so much. Um, Yeah, so another super interesting point is you launched at like the craziest time to launch a travel startup, which was basically at the height of the pandemic in 2020. Um, how did you even navigate that time to launch this kind of
Yeah,
business?
yeah, yeah. I had the great idea. I was like, it's 2020. Everyone's going to travel this year. It's going to clearly the year of travel. I didn't get the memo. I did not get the memo.
So did you obviously you had the idea beforehand and you were sort of in the launch phases as as everything kind of locked down and airports shut down. Is that
Yeah,
what
that was pretty
happened?
much it.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah, yeah.
but 2020, that was a very early version. Like we launched,
Mm,
I mean, it was basically on paper in reality, but that was like our bot. That was when we first put the AI out. And I
okay.
remember I was really frustrated, like living in New York. New York for a while was the epicenter of COVID.
Mm,
Everyone hated us. And and it was really frustrating because, right, this pandemic happened, and so there were a few weeks that we shut everything down, and I was like, I don't know what to do next. Like, what do I do with this idea? But it's this is the good thing about listening to customers. I just remember looking up and I would see these planes in the sky. And I was like, wait, people are still traveling. So let me turn it back on. Let me just put it out there and see who I can reach. And it turns out that there were a lot of travel nurses that were coming to New York to take care of COVID patients. And you know what? They actually needed help. Um, and so it was, I mean, I am always grateful and always thankful for all these travel nurses for kind of showing us this model, because they would engage with us and tell us like, hey, I'm doing a 12-hour shift and my kids are back at the hotel and they need food and everything's shut down. Can you help me figure out how to take care of this? Or it's my day off. I've never been to New York before. This is a great opportunity. I know that like I can't buy tickets, but what can I do? Can I go to Central Park? Can I go to Times
Mm,
Square and take pictures? And so we would still help them.
mm,
And that's really when we started to realize when like what this opportunity was. It was actually a great time. I will say that I think that times of disruption, like major disruption in an industry, is like one of the best opportunities to pay attention because
mm,
especially at least for us during that time, that's when all of the noise was gone. Right, there was no noise around. It was so quiet, and we could really listen to what our customers wanted. And
mm,
so yeah, I don't know.
mm,
I think it's like you know, a lot of there's been a lot of companies that have launched or at least started during these moments of transition in the
mm.
economy, and
Yeah.
they're actually great times.
Yeah, totally agree. It almost resets like it, it makes you rethink, the way that we've done things our whole lives, and then something crazy happens that changes so many habits and routines that you just almost reset and rethink things, surely it's a peak of time for innovators to start rethinking and yeah, coming up with new ways, new solutions.
Yeah,
But but in the travel sector, probably not you. You could surely you're in the minority.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that was good though. Like, yeah, take it on. I'm glad that no one else was coming up with the idea.
Yeah. But then off the back of that, I guess like something that has been booming is the gig economy, because remote work has become so normal. I know so many people now that they wouldn't have ever thought about remote jobs and remote work, and this gig economy has just become huge, and it's not slowing down. Um, so I mean, that's got to be a huge thing for you and how you're capitalizing on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a little unexpected, like I said, but
Mm,
like it was great. It's great to see it. Um, yeah, gig economy is big. People need flexibility, right? At the end of the day, like we have our lives and we need to, you know, there's even people that have jobs, like they have jobs doing something else, but they just want a little extra money. One of the people that we used in our system. I remember she was a she just had a baby, right? And she was in between jobs. Like the job that she had didn't give her enough maternity leave, and she was looking for another job. And she wanted something that's very flexible so that she could take care of her child during that time. And we just, you know, we connected, and she's like, "Yeah, of course, I can work from home with the baby in my lap, and I don't have to worry about anyone like bothering me, or I don't have to be on call. I don't have to leave. I don't have to like go out and clock in." She's like, "This is perfect. This is perfect." So, you know, it's just extra income for some people. And again,
mm,
you know, it's again for these visitors that are coming, like you want real local knowledge, right? And so when we say we're just going to give you a platform to talk and connect, we'll give everyone the support that they need.
mm.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's like, yeah, okay, yes, sign me up.
Mm.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned. Did you say Airbnb isn't legal in New York? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Airbnb, that happened, I think, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Airbnbs are not legal. It is New
Wow.
York, so you can always still find some Airbnbs, but along with other illegal things. But yeah, they are illegal in in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's because of the slumlord rules. So the concern is that people will, like, these slumlords will can just, like, you can rent a building, not take care
Mm,
of it, because if you just get consistent travelers coming through, like, I mean, there's no traveler that's going to complain to the health department. There's no one's going to call the city on you.
mm,
So no one's ever going to find out that the slumlord isn't taking care of the building, and they can continue to make rent. And
mm.
so they were like, no
Yeah.
Airbnbs. You have to take care of these buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. What's the so you're at you're at the stage now where you say you're kind of going through a new phase of growth and scale. What are the most exciting things that you've got
Oh,
going on?
yeah. So I'll tell you, it's really, really great and fulfilling to look back and see where we came, right? When I started this with the idea, like, that first idea was just a simple AI that we put out for travel nurses. And we've turned it into something that really, that one, like, solves the problem. And just seeing the way that we're able to connect with our with our customers and prospective customers is really interesting. We Our front end is extremely light. It's extremely simple. I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, I don't see much. But when our prospects and our customers looking at it, I was just looking at the data, like, they get so much value from the local information that we share through our blogs. We also have tools that we create, that we're just listening. We've had, like, thousands of customers come through, so now we're starting to see where these patterns are, and we're creating tools to help them. Um, and we share information. We're now growing a newsletter, which is, it just sounds like a newsletter, but it's full of, like, rich information that people use to help them plan their trip, about what are the pop-up concerts that are happening, and what are the new restaurants that are opening. And yeah, and just seeing it all kind of come together is really exciting.
Mm.
I may have
Yeah,
drifted
very
off
exciting.
topic a little bit, but I don't know. I got, like,
No, very exciting. You can tell you're just, you are passionate and excited about things that you've got in the works, things that you're envisioning. Yeah, and your mission mentions, serving every overnight traveler in the world's largest cities. New York has been your testing ground, and that mission's very ambitious. What, and obviously you're the captain of the ship that's steering towards the destination. You're not quite sure what's ahead of you on that journey. What are the milestones that are going to tell you you're on the right track towards that vision?
yeah. I think, yeah, thanks. And I like the way that you framed it as well. Because I do think about it in terms of our footprint. So, um, New York, we have a good handle on. Like, we kind of know what we're doing here. I think getting to our second city is going to be really interesting. So city number two will
Mm,
be a good one. I'd say after that, we'll hit a few more cities domestically, but I think the next milestone is going to be our first international city, which we're targeting as London. So getting out there will be great. And then after that, we really want to see what happens when we start to hit uh, cities where English is not the first language, right? So we still haven't figured out where that will be. Um, but yeah, we're
mm.
we
Yeah,
know it's coming. We can see it out there.
yeah, yeah. Exciting and interesting that London's your yeah, you, yeah, one in the works because obviously I'm from the UK, and yeah, London's a cool place.
London's a
Um,
very cool place. Yeah.
beyond those, those milestones and beyond your like growth business metrics, um, what's personally as a leader and entrepreneur building Khonsu, what's changed for you? What's been part of your transformational growth journey?
Yeah. Uh yes. I think doing this business, I don't know if it's the founder's journey or Kansu itself, but I do feel like it's made me a better person. I listen more and talk less. I'm very conscious of the words that I'm using and the words that I'm receiving with people. And I connect with people in a much more human way. So this week I was at a networking event in New York City, and I really took note. Actually, one, I shook almost everyone's hand, which is something that I probably wouldn't have done in the past. And I also just made a note to not just listen to what they were saying, but what they were feeling and how. And like I now notice body language, and I notice people's. Um, I don't want to sound like too foozy, but I like their energy, right? I'm like just
Mm.
a lot more in tune to their energy, um, and not in like a way that I am kind of putting them into a box, but I just understand that everyone's different and everyone's coming from different experiences. It's one of the things I've learned by like doing this, I guess, helping thousands of visitors. We've never seen two people travel the same. And so it's really given me perspective at how different everyone is, but how we all kind of want similar things. And
Mm.
so I just listen to people a lot more intently than I did before, and that at least it gives me some joy when I go out into the world. So
Mm.
maybe I don't know if I extend joy, but at least it gives me joy.
Yeah, interesting. Definitely interesting how yeah, just these are, I mean, crucial, just communication, relationship, networking type skills that, yeah, as a founder, to get people excited and passionate about, it's got to shine through. It's got to be founder led, internally and externally, to grow something that you really taken off from the ground up. Um, and that, yeah, definitely, that's got to transform you, and it must transform you in a way that, yeah, you understand people way better. You understand that, yeah, even in terms of energy, like you said, reading people's energy, it's just they're almost just quick heuristics. When you're meeting so many people, you can, yeah, you get a gut feeling and intuition, like you said, with when you partner with, looking to partner with people, you kind of reading the energy. Do you connect? They're all important things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're different, but we're just people. Like we're just trying to make our way through the world. Uh,
Mm.
we're starting different places and we're going different places, but we're all just trying to make the most of the day at the end of it.
Mm. Yeah, you've noted that time is short and it's important to spend it with people we love. Um, how has building a business centered around maximizing travelers' time changed your own relationship with time?
Yeah, that's a great question. Wow, that's a great question. So oh man, that is a great question, James. You're like, yeah. So how has it changed my personal relationship with time? I do value time a lot more. I value time with my loved ones a lot more. I value my downtime a lot more.
Mm.
Um, I also hesitate answering this because I don't know if I do it as well as I want to. In my head, I like now that I'm so much more conscious of it, I feel like I should be doing a better job than what I am. But I still am a founder and I enjoy what I'm building. And so I do spend a lot of time working.
Mm.
But I also make sure, I think the nice thing about being a founder, being out of corporate America, is I have control of my own time. And so I have kids, right? And so when my kids are off, I can take a Tuesday off and we can go do something together. Like that's not, I didn't have that option before.
Mm,
Um, and I actually do make it a point to take those off days, because on the weekends sometimes they're off with their friends doing things, and then I can work on those days. But when they're home, then I do try to listen to them and be there for them, and be
mm,
as present as possible.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you work from home mostly, or?
Work from home mostly. Everyone does. That's on the team. We do try to come together because I just think it's good to have some face to face time with the people in New York. But
Mm,
again, this is meant to be a gig economy model. And
mm,
so if we're like, if there's a set of people that are working remote and doing this thing, like I also want us to be in that world, to really understand what those challenges are.
mm,
I just feel like if it's a bit of like eating your own dog food, right? So one of specifically where like the two connect is, for our locals who are on the gig side, and we call our locals experienced designers. So for our experienced designers, like figuring out a model where they can share information between each other is very similar to the process that we would use as a team. Like, how do we all connect? So, do we need to have scheduled meetings to have the people connect and share some ideas? Do we need to create these different like Slack groups to have people connect? So putting us into that same mindset as our designers helps us see that problem and solve for that problem, and kind of listen to the challenges that they have.
mm. Yeah. 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 No, it was this really appreciate this conversation, Robert. Really interesting to hear your journey and your insights on this, yeah,
Yeah,
captaining the ship. Um,
yeah.
where can
Thank you.
people find out more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on LinkedIn. I'm not extremely social, but I am LinkedIn connected. So you can certainly find me on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out to me there. That is the best way to connect with me. If you'd like to visit our website, if you're visiting New York and you want to connect with one of our designers, our website is askkhonsu.com. Yeah, but LinkedIn is going to be the best way to get to me directly.
Yeah, well, again, thanks so much for coming on, and yeah, I'll be watching the scale and growth of Khonsu with great interest.
Thank you, James. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you take care.
Okay. You too.